Subclass, Mr. Wicklehouse, and today we are multiplying matrices. Alright. So we've done addition and subtraction and identifying different types of matrices. This is a little bit different. Okay. So when we're multiplying matrices, you need to remember one thing before you get started with the multiplication. You must check the dimensions of the matrices that you are multiplying and make sure that the number of columns of the left matrix matches the number of rows on the right. So what I mean by that is we know that matrix A is a 2 by 3 matrix. Okay. I know that matrix B is a 3 by 2 matrix. Okay. So something that I do when I'm checking this part out is I'll say, okay, I got a 2 by 3 and a 3 by 2, and I look to make sure that this number and this number matches. If they do, then you can multiply the matrices. Okay. If they do not match, you cannot multiply the matrices. It's not possible to multiply them. Okay. So this one, A and B, we could multiply together because they have 3 columns in matrix A and 3 rows in matrix B. You'll see in a minute why that is important. Okay. Something else to keep in mind is if these match and you're going to multiply these matrices together, then you'll find that the answer that you get, or the answer's dimensions, are going to be the outside numbers of the 2 matrices that you're multiplying together. So in other words, when I multiply matrix A and matrix B together, I'm going to get a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay? Alright. So, remember, when you're multiplying matrices, you have to match the columns and the rows. So, let's look at this one. What are the dimensions of matrix C? Well, it's a 3 by 2 matrix. Okay. Matrix D is also a 3 by 2 matrix. Now you might think, looking at this at first, you might say, oh, they're the same, I should be able to multiply them together. But let's look. I've got a 3 by 2, and I'm multiplying it by a 3 by 2. Well, do these two numbers match up? 2 and 3, is that equal to one another? No, it's not, so I cannot multiply those 2 matrices together. It won't work. Okay? These numbers have to match. These numbers do not match, so I can't multiply. Alright, now let's talk about how to actually do this and get this show on the road. Alright, so here's this matrix. It's a 2 by 3, and here's this one is a 3 by 2. It's 3 columns, 3 rows. I can multiply them together, and I'm going to get a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so for each spot of the new matrix, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take row 1 and multiply it by column 1. Okay, so there's 3 things in this row and 3 things in this column. That's why those columns and rows have to match up. Okay, so essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking each one of these pieces, each one of these elements in this matrix, and I'm multiplying by each one of the elements in the column to get this first number. And once I multiply all those together, then I'm going to add them. Okay, so I do 1 times -1 add to -2 times 3 and so on. Okay, to get the second number in the matrix, I'm going to take the first row and I'm going to multiply it by the second column. So I'm going to take 1, -2, and -3 and multiply it by -2, 4, and -6. After I do that, then I add them together. So I multiply, then add, and whatever that is, I put in the second element of the new matrix that I'm getting. Alright, well, to get this one, I've used column or row 1 with the 2 columns. Now I'm going to go to row 2. And I'm going to multiply row 2 by column 1. And then I'm going to add them together. To get the final spot of my matrix, or the final element of my matrix, I'm going to take row 2 again and multiply it by column 2. When I multiply them together, then I add them together. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Alright. So, here's our row 1s multiplied by row 2, or by column 1 rather. So I'm taking row 1 and I'm multiplying it by column 1. So 1 times -1 plus -2 times 3 plus -3 times 5. Okay? When I multiply all those together, this is -1, this is -6, this is -15. Well, that's -1 plus -6 is -7 plus -15 is -22. There's my first element of my new matrix. Okay, so I'll put it right there. Now I take row 1, 1, -2, -3, and multiply it by -2, 4, and -6. So 1 times -2 is -2. -2 times 4 is -8. -3 times -6 is plus 18. Add them together. This is -2 plus -8. That's -10 plus 18 is going to give me 8. There's my second element. Alright. Now I take row 2. Take row 2 and multiply it by column 1. -4 times -1 is +4. 5 times 3 is 15. -6 times 5 is -30. 4 plus 15 is 19, plus -30 is -11. Here's my -11 right there. Alright. Last one. Row 2 by column 2. Row 2, column 2. -2 times -4 times -2 is 8. 5 times 4 is 20. -6 times -6 is 36. 28 plus 36 is 64. There's my last element. Okay? That's how we do it. Row 1 times column 1, multiply then add. Multiply then add. It's all about multiplying and adding. Alright? Alright. So here's the last example. If we can see it. It's going to focus in. Hold on. There. Oh, is it going to? Oh, no, it's not. There we go. All right. So first things first. This is a 3 by 2 matrix. This is a 2 by 3 matrix. The columns and the rows match, so I can multiply this together. Not only that, but this outer numbers is 3 by 3, so I know that my my answer is going to be a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay? Alright. Well, let's do the first one. Row 1 times column 1. So I got negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. 1 times 3 is 3. That's negative 7. So I put negative 7 into element 1. Now I'll do negative 2, or the first column times the second, or first row times the second column. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. That's 5. Put a 5 in. Now do this one times the last one. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. 1 times 4 is positive 4. That's 0. There we go. There's the 0. Okay. Now we're going to do our second row, and we go through the columns again. 4 times 5 is 20. 0 times 3 is 0. That's 20. There we go. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Plus 0, negative 12. Bam. 4 times 2 is 8. 0 times 4 is 0. That's 8. There we go. And we're done with that spot. Now we'll do this last one, the 3 and the negative 1. We're multiplying it by every column. So I do 3 times 5. That's 15. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. That's 12. There we go. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. That's negative 7. One more. 3 times 2 is 6. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. That's 2. There's our 2. Now we're all done. That's how you multiply matrices. I will talk to you later.